Steinfeld, and this program is about evolution, about consciousness, about healing, about transformation. That's why I'm talking today to an old friend of the program, Eric Pearl, and the Reconnection. What kind of response do you get in South America to your work?
You know, the people here really love it. They're very enthusiastic. They're loud, they're excitable, they enjoy what goes on. Like, you know, for instance, when I do television interviews in North America, everyone, you know, sits in their chairs and they're quiet and polite. Here we pop around and we change chairs all the time and we say, let me feel it, let me feel it. And everyone gets all excited about what's going on. And the seminars, the training programs have an interesting flavor in South America because everyone gets so excited and loud. Sometimes I have to shout at the class to all just be quiet, but I wouldn't trade it for anything because the excitement that we have here when we're learning the work is the excitement that keeps me going and teaching it.
What do people get excited about? Because, you know, healing and hands-on healing and that type of work is very common, much more common in South America among the population than it is in North America. What do people really get excited about with your work in South America?
Because this is so different. The results, the effects are dramatically different. When you interact with the reconnective healing frequencies, it's not just like something similar to Reiki or Qigong, where you rest your hands and you feel warm and relaxed. Here, you learn how to feel something, how to find it. You start to see bodies go into involuntary movement, their fingers, their arms, their legs, their facial muscles. People start seeing colors they've never seen before, smelling flowers. You see tears coming out of their eyes. It's a whole different world, and you're freed up with reconnective healing because it's not a technique, and there are no rituals. There are no fear-based protections. There's no pulling up imaginary zippers or shaking off negative energy or spraying yourself down with alcohol or worrying about going clockwise instead of counterclockwise. It's just stepping into an expansion of who we are as human beings. You know, everything we've had here in the way of our energy healing has existed within our four-dimensional existence here in the multidimensional universe. And they've been different subsets of the energy within these four dimensions. So visualize this huge, vast, endless multidimensional universe, and then this balloon floating around. In a big balloon, the wall or the cell of the balloon is height, width, depth, and time, and we exist inside as a part of energy, the four-dimensional energy. But suddenly, when we let go of all of our techniques, we expand into all of the energy instead of those technique subsets of energy. We discover that we're more than our techniques. We're more than technique itself. And then the second or the surprise gift that comes along is because today we understand that time is expanding. So as our balloon of time expands, it becomes more thin, more sheer, more permeable, and it begins to disappear, which leads us to what quantum physics explains, that time is disappearing, that ultimately we're here to recognize and discover that time all along has just been an illusion. So with reconnective healing, the healings tend to be fairly instantaneous, and they tend to be lifelong. The researchers say because they happen outside of time. So they're not even just instantaneous, they're timeless, immediate, and because they're outside of time, they last for a person's lifetime because they don't weaken or disappear.
Wow, so they're outside of... And what do you mean by time is disappearing? I haven't heard that term.
Yeah, if we follow what quantum physics teaches us today, you can put it into 4 points. A, time is moving faster, but not from point A to point B. Time is moving faster in all directions at once, so time is B, expanded. Mm-hmm. As time expands, as our balloon or bubble of time expands, it begins to disappear, which is point C. Mm-hmm. And as we evolve into existing more timelessly, ultimately we reach point D, which is that time is an illusion. You know how when you think of someone and immediately your phone rings and it's them,
Yeah.
Or these are ways we experience timeless communications when we allow ourselves. But to allow ourselves to let time disappear, we have to see ourselves in a bigger role.
Do you think
With a
so? That's
consciousness.
happening more now than ever before. There's an acceleration in this dimension, in this multidimensional universe. You're saying?
Absolutely. Our four-dimensional existence limits us in certain ways, not in a bad way.
Yeah.
We're in a limited way for us to gain our lessons from living in a dimension where we experience density of gravity, where we experience emotion, where things appear slower in some ways and faster in others. For instance, if you're walking along a sidewalk in Manhattan and you look at your watch, it's a certain time. If someone is at the top of a skyscraper, time for them is actually moving more slowly. The higher you go, the more you leave gravity, the more time slows itself down. The classic example of that in quantum physics is that if you take two newborn twins, place one immediately into a rocket ship and send it up for 40 years, when it lands, the 40-year-old twin here on Earth walks over to greet it. The door opens, and that twin's sibling comes out, and they're only maybe about 6 years old. Time is in relationship and proportionate to the gravity in which we exist here. But vibration reverses itself. Vibration here is more dense. So when we interact with the reconnective healing frequencies that are outside of time, our existence within time entrains upward to a higher vibration to meet the new part. So in other words, it's like entrainment. If you take a tuning fork and you hit it, and the tuning fork begins to vibrate at a certain sound, you place another tuning fork near it so it picks up the waves and it entrains upward to vibrate similarly. This is how reconnective healing works. You don't have to focus on symptoms or diagnosis or problems or trying to find where the problem is or fix it. You just allow yourself to vibrate at this timeless level of what science says is a more coherent or harmonic light form, and the other person's light form and vibration entrains to it, and the densities, our health challenges, fall away.
But how do you get to that vibration? How do you raise yourself up?
It's not, well, how is an interesting question. It's not a how means that you follow steps.
Okay.
So try this. If you place two guitars near each other, you pluck one string on one guitar. Soon the waves pick up and entrain with the corresponding string on the other. How does it happen? It feels the other waves, and they affect it in a similar way. Everything entrains upward. This is why there's nothing negative from reconnective healing. You can't take on an illness or a sickness because you don't entrain downward.
So if you're vibrating or you're holding that frequency of the reconnection, then it's vibrating the others around you that who have, everyone has the potential for the reconnection frequency. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. And this comes from all places, research and medicine. You know, when you used to go to medical school or related schools to learn how the body heals, they used to teach us the biochemical model. The body heals through biochemicals. Today that model is obsolete. It's dead. We know that biochemicals are involved, but just as Lynn McTaggart, author of The Field and who did research on this, will explain to us, today we understand that healing follows the light model. In other words, healing is communicated through the resonance or entrainment of energy, vibration, nonverbal information exchange, and it's carried via light. Everything and everyone here is energy. Of course, your energy, I'm energy, the chair's energy, the floor is energy. And energy interacting with energy comes through information. Information in life form is communicated via light. So the biochemical model couldn't answer certain questions. How could something happen to one part of your body like that and immediately affect another part of your body? Light waves explain this concept. And of approximately 24 different studies on reconnective healing, 6 of them were done specifically on DNA, plant DNA, animal DNA, and human DNA, showing that the reconnective healing frequencies, unlike energy healing technique frequencies, actually restructure, or as I like to say, reconnects our very DNA, which not only raises the light, but makes it more harmonic, more coherent. So disharmony in our field vibrates out as harmony comes to replace it. Disharmony is imbalance, which is problems and difficulty with health. Returning to harmony brings us back to a state of health, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It throws us onto our career paths faster than we think. It evolves our relationships, and quite honestly, it even changes our sex life, but I'm sure that's a whole other interview.
Well, we can include some of that. I mean, because when you're having sex, you're very intimate, and you're actually probably the most in tune or entrained with the person in those types of physical acts, because your fields are really merging. So
That's a higher level of love, and love is our essence, love is our existence.
mm-hmm.
See, this is part of the reason that there's limitations in healing techniques, because they're filled with protections, ritual, do it this way and don't do it that way, which gives us, everything exists on one of 2 levels of consciousness. Fear, lack, limitation, the illusion of separation or darkness, the need for control or judgment or ego, or comes from love, prosperity, abundance, oneness, light, and unity. You can't give a gift you're unwilling to accept or receive. We can't stand in fear protecting ourselves and facilitate healings that reside in love. And the reality is we view fear and love as opposites, unrelated, but they really are related, because what ultimately is fear except the fear of not being loved? Mm-hmm. Therefore, what ultimately is fear except the fear of itself? And since love itself is our very existence, what we share in our most intimate moments with special people in our lives, actually, as you were alluding to, then what is fear really but the fear of not existing? Our whole fear is not existing, which is why we often tend to be afraid to see ourselves in others, because we're afraid we'll lose our individuality, and if we don't feel individual, special, and unique, we'll fail to exist, instead of recognizing that when we see ourselves in others, when we stop saying what makes us special, unique, and different, but what makes us all the same, we become part of a larger picture. And just as rays of the sun individually are representations of the sun here on Earth, we are individual representations of, I believe, God, love, and the intelligence of the universe. When we see that in one another, hatred leaves. There's no longer a fear that says, protect myself from someone, because when we protect ourselves from anything in the healing process, we separate ourselves from the person we're bringing the healing to. And then we can't bring the full healing through, because we're living in an attempt to separate and protect a consciousness of fear.
No, I like all that, and it makes sense, and I think that's what some people get really excited about. The other thing about what you're saying is it's not like the physical body emanates the light. It's like the field itself condenses to form the physical body. Would you say that?
Yes, and here's where it gets tricky. We're saying it's not this way, it's this way. And someone else is saying it's not this way, it's this way. And the reality is it's none of that. That is us viewing things in a linear fashion. If there's up, if there's down, if there's thin, if there's fat, if there's tall, there's short, because of our 4-dimensional existence. That's why you hear people mistakenly referring about evolving into the 5th dimension. If they really understood what they were saying, they'd understand there's no such thing as the 5th dimension, because what we conceive of as the 5th dimension is a non-linear existence for which we don't have a word, because our language is linear. So it's referred to as as Gary Zukov might say, multi-dimensional. Now, obviously, 2 and 3 and 4 are multi, but it's the multi word is used to distinguish it from a 4-dimensional linear existence. That's why there's no 5th dimension,
Right.
except for the singing, and they're not together anymore.
What's the last thing except?
The singing group, and I don't think they're together any longer.
Oh, the 5th dimension. Yeah, I did like them, but I have had some scientific studies with the Russian guy.
Korotkov.
Yes, Korotkov.
Schwartz, and Baldwin.
What are they saying? What are these? What's Korotkov and Gary Schwartz saying about this level of work?
Well, you know, different studies focus on different things.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Gary Schwartz, in combination with or conjunction with Ann Baldwin, 2 researchers, just published a study this last year that shows that just minutes of reconnective healing is more than twice as effective as physical therapy in restoring the use of limbs of our bodies. And that's because we believe that these things are happening outside of time and space and changing the density of what's going on. Konstantin Korotkov, he did studies with the Russian Olympic athletes, and we taught Russian medical doctors how to do this with the athletes. It found that it changed the athletes, it raised their blood oxygen level, changed their heart levels, their brain waves, it gave them greater hand-eye coordination. One of the athletes who was to be a model had broken his leg 4 days before the seminar, and by the end of the first day of the seminar there was no more pain, and the doctors couldn't find any indication that the leg had ever been broken.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. That's incredible. So is your work evolving? Is the reconnection going to a new level as time speeds up, as the frequency accelerates, as all those things happen? Is that method, is that technique transforming in some ways as well, I would think?
Well, it's part of a cycle. It's a cycle of consciousness because, A, the consciousness has to start to get a grasp on the fact that technique is helpful, but technique is also limiting. Like techniques of training wheels help us find our balance on the bicycle, but until we remove the training wheels of technique, we never master the bicycle itself. Either we master our healing techniques or we master healing itself. So as we move through this cycle, consciousness expands. As the consciousness expands, then we bring about greater levels of healing. So our evolution is the evolution of humanity, is the evolution of healing, because healing itself is evolution. So it's very much cyclic. This is part of the reason that people who come in with no presupposed concepts of what healing is supposed to be are able to access this very immediately, be it young children, be it adults who said, I've never believed in this before, but I want to experience it, whereby people who are experiencing energy healing techniques, it takes a lot for them to feel comfortable in letting that go. Just a couple nights ago here in Bogota, Colombia, we had a woman come in who was unable to raise her arms past, well, if she were a clock, her hands would look like they were reading 10 minutes after 2 on the clock, you know, kind of like that position. And she expected that I would do a healing on her when I brought her up on stage, but I didn't. I brought up a 6-year-old child who never did anything with healing before. We taught him how to find this, how to feel it, how to play with it. He started working with her. Her fingers went into involuntary movement. And for the first time in I don't know how many years, she regained her full range of motion in front of the room. No faith, no hope, no belief, and no guru doing it, but everyday people. This is about us taking the power to heal our families back into our families, or taking the power to heal our communities back into our communities, whether we want it for ourselves or whether we want it to change the world and maybe create a career where we're not working in a position for the sake of earning money, but we're actually making our income for the sake of allowing us to contribute at greater and greater levels. You know, the Reconnective Healing Training Program is new now, Alan. It's different than when we spoke last. It's now gone from just a 2-day weekend to 4.5 days. So what happens, for instance, we're doing 4 English-speaking seminars. Well, I speak English in all of them, but
Right.
4 without translation. This year we're doing Sacramento, June 26th through 30th. We're doing Philly, July 24th through 28th. September 11th through 15th will be in LA, and London, October 16th through 20th. And what happens on those Friday nights, say for instance in Sacramento on June 26th, is I give a 3-hour presentation, similar but different to the way we used to, where we do talk about the history, the theory, the philosophy, the science. We bring up volunteers and give live demonstrations of the healings. We now allow you to not only feel it in your hands, but we begin to teach you how to work with it on that Friday night. The level 1 of the training program continues on that Saturday and Sunday. So say in Sacramento, the 27th and the 28th, where if you attend the seminar, you'll stand at the head of a massage table, someone else will lie down on the massage table, we'll teach you how to feel this, how to find it, we'll work with you individually. You'll witness the person on your massage table going into involuntary movements of their bodies, and then you'll trade places with them so you experience while they work with you. We'll continue teaching higher and higher levels of that. And if you want to learn this at the professional level, which doesn't mean you need to go into a practice as a professional, but you've got the same abilities as them, then you can continue on that Monday and Tuesday, June 29 and 30, and we will bring in people from outside of the seminar who don't have any idea what to expect. You'll see them have the same responses. We'll teach you how to do it via distance. We'll teach you how to do it not only off the body, but on the body. We'll teach you how to holographically. We'll even teach you how to start your own practice. And by the end of the full level 1-2 training program, I can pretty much make you more expansively those same promises that we were able to make you before, which is A, you will be able to do anything and everything in the way of this energetic realm of healing that I can do, and B, you will be able to do anything and everything in the way of energy healing and beyond that any human being anywhere on this planet can do, no matter how many techniques they've mastered or even created. Only, though, to the degree that we're willing to remove the training wheels of technique themselves.
Wow, that's great. I mean, you've really developed this work. And for people who want to take those seminars, they should go to thereconnection.com.
Just like the book is called The Reconnection, the website is thereconnection.com. You have to use the word the.
So, you know what I really like about you is how excited you are about this work. It doesn't get old for you, does it?
It's, how can I say this? I think a lot of people go through life going through the motions of what needs to be done to live and survive. I think when you discover your purpose in life, it's a beautiful moment, but it's exquisitely beautiful when you give yourself the opportunity to live that purpose. I get to live that purpose. People say, how do you fly around 40 weeks a year and live out of 2 or 3 suitcases? Don't you get tired of that? I said, you know, it's just me going to work like you drive to work or you take a train. Except I've got a purpose when I get there. And what's very exciting in teaching people how to become professionals with reconnective healing, or just to do it for their families, is that they discover that they have a purpose that's different than they visualized before. And for many people, they decide that they want to spend their life touching as many people with healing day in and day out as possible. And what a beautiful way to also be in a profession and earn an income. Do you really think that we're here to do something that we hate or just tolerate as a way to be able to survive? Or maybe we're here to discover what makes our heart sing. Maybe the concept of pleasure and pain is a real concept, and that we're drawn towards what gives us pleasure, but sometimes our egos or our feelings of inadequacy say, that's too good for me. That would make me too happy. I think I'd better do something else and work on a conveyor belt. Alan, what you do in your work, as I believe I said to you before, you're a healer. You are a healer, but not through doing work one-on-one with your hands. You're a healer because you raise a vibration of consciousness that people tune into, and they say, oh, I have a better picture for myself. This is what I want to do. You give one person the inspiration to say, I want to learn healing. And every life that they touch with healing has to do somewhere in its lineage with you. We're all healers on some level. We have different disguises that we wear to deliver healing. Some people give themselves the excuse of delivering healing through medicine or chiropractic or osteopathy or acupuncture, some through the media, and others like to work one-on-one and share and witness and observe the changes right in front of their eyes.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, no, what I'm doing is very exciting to me, bringing different opportunities and the potential for who we are as human beings to as many people as possible. So that's why I like talking to, people like you who are really excited, bringing through almost a technology or something that we all are. So thank you, Eric. It's nice to share some time here. And one more thing, you started something with kids a while back, Reconnection and kids, right? Was there something?
We were teaching reconnected kids.
Yeah.
We're revamping the program because the program itself was geared to kids anywhere from about the age of 4 to around 14. And what we're finding in today's world really is that once you get to about 7 or 8, you develop a focus where really I believe you're much better off and better capable today of handling the adult program. So we're revamping Reconnected Kids to be geared more towards about the ages of 4 to 7 or 8 and then move you into the adult level, because truly maybe the parents are too busy to be the healing facilitators for the families, and the children step right into it.
Thanks for everything. So you'll be in Philadelphia. What are those dates again?
It will be starting Sacramento, June 26th through 30. Okay. Philadelphia, July 24th through 28. Los Angeles, September 11 through 15, the infamous September 11. And in London, October 16 through 20.
Great. Thank you, Eric. I think it's great that you are helping people access this level of healing that makes it very accessible for people to just go out and do this work. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you. And I'll just tag this with what we're really learning to do. We're learning to step into and embody and become the healing instruments that we truly are. Thank you.
Great talking to you. Great seeing you. Have a great time in South America there. And we'll meet up next time you're in New York, okay?
Yes, we will.
Okay.